Thank you. I'm going to say good afternoon, but in fact, there's nothing good about the reason that we are gathered here to just express our heartfelt condolences to the O'Shea's family. 28-year-old young man. He could be my son. And oftentimes when you have incidents like this, you reflect outside of your professional status and move to your personal status. Parents lost a child to something clearly that was a hate crime. And I wanted to thank the New York City Police Department. Chief Kenny, who's here, will give an overview of the apprehension of the perpetrator involved. And it should be important to point out that that apprehension took place because everyday New Yorkers contributed basic information we needed to identify and to apprehend. And the issue itself made an attempt to give the impression that it came from hate from the Muslim community towards the LGBTQ plus community. That was in fact not true. These are both important communities in the city of New York. They contribute to the community. Both communities I have worked with on so many occasions, and both are against any level of hate. And both communities have been victimized by Islamophobia, anti-gay, and other forms of hates. Their voices have been loud and clear that they stand united against fighting any form of hate in this city. Young O'Shea was a dancer, dancing to one of our iconic artists, Beyonce, just enjoying what everyday New Yorkers do, coming to the city to really enjoy the freedom of expressing himself the way New Yorkers are allowed to do. Our message today to both the Muslim community and the LGBT plus community, as well as all others. This is a city where you are free to express yourself, and that expression should never end with any form of violence. And the police department took this case as seriously as any other case, but to make sure we can bring the perpetrator to justice. And yes, it was announced yesterday that we apprehended the suspect. And I want to now turn it over to Chief Kenny to go over the preliminary information before introducing two representative leaders in both the LGBTQ plus community and the Muslim community. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon. I'm Assistant Chief Joe Kenny from the Detective Bureau. On Saturday, July 29th, at approximately 11:15 p.m., 70 precinct patrol officers were directed to the vicinity of Coney Island Avenue and Avenue P for multiple 911 calls reporting that a man had been stabbed at this location. Upon arriving at the scene, the officers encountered a male laying on the sidewalk behind you. He was suffering from a single stab wound to the left side of his ribcage. The victim was identified as Mr. O'Shea Sibley, male black, 28 years old, currently residing in Brooklyn. He was transferred to Maimonides Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 12:33 in the morning. Detectives from the 70 Precinct Detective Squad and Brooklyn South Homicide Squad immediately responded to the scene. A witness and video canvas quickly yielded positive results. Recovered video showed that the victim and his friends being confronted by a group of males and being harassed. We can see on the video a heated verbal dispute quickly turns physical. This results in Mr. Sibley being stabbed one time, causing his death. Mr. Sibley was traveling back home from New Jersey with 4 other male friends when they stopped for gas at this mobile gas station. As they waited to refuel their vehicle, Mr. Sibley and his group began dancing to music that was being played in their car. At this point, a male called out to Mr. Sibley and his group, demanding that they stop dancing. Others joined this male. As the group began to yell at Mr. Sibley and his friends, they began to call him derogatory names and use homophobic slurs against him. They also made anti-black statements, all while demanding that they simply stop dancing. This encounter lasts for approximately 4 minutes, when the victim and the known perpetrator come together. This perpetrator retreats away from Mr. Sibley while striking him one time with a sharp object, piercing his chest and damaging his heart. Mr. Sibley falls to the sidewalk while the perpetrator flees the scene in a Toyota Highlander. Detectives were able to quickly identify the suspect of this crime with the assistance of other city agencies, the NYPD Hate Crimes Unit, the School Safety Division, Field Intelligence Officers, and our partners at the Kings County District Attorney's Office. The suspect is identified as a male, 17 years of age. He resides in Brooklyn, and he attends a nearby high school. Members of the NYPD Fugitive Enforcement Unit and the U.S. Marshals Regional Fugitive Task Force were assigned with the task of locating and apprehending this individual. Their efforts led to his apprehension yesterday. He has been charged with murder too, and that is being charged as a hate crime, and criminal possession of a weapon. He has been remanded. Now I'd like to introduce Lee Soldier Simmons.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lee Soldier Simmons. I'm the Executive Director of the NYC Center for Black Pride. And on this day, which is exactly 2 weeks before actually Black Pride is going to be beginning here in New York, I met him, O'Shea, actually as a performer, as a dancer, performing for me in an off-Broadway show for Black Pride. The young man I met in 2017, so this is about 6 years ago. Amazing dancer. He's also part of what we know as the house and ballroom community, and he is part of the House of Demure Versailles. And I wanted to speak that because oftentimes, especially within the LGBT community, it's not necessarily always our birth families, it's our chosen families that are there that support him. And some of the youth that was here with him and dancing with him were his brothers and sisters that were part of that ballroom community. So I wanted to make sure that I uplifted that we support each other. It's very sad that he, as being the talent that he was, and coming from Philadelphia, he was never able to reach his full potential. The saddest thing part about it is that we wrestle with this death. We wrestle with hate crimes. We wrestle with people within our community constantly facing discrimination, not just because you're black, but because you represent LGBT. And the fact that he was doing nothing more but voguing and dancing here, he did not deserve to die in that way. So I want to also make a note that as we are sitting here mourning the passing of this talented young man, today we're also mourning the passing of the Paris is Burning icon, Carmen Extravaganza. She also passed away. I'm going to now pass it over to Miss Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings on you all. My name is Sonia Ali. I am the Executive Director of Muslim Community Center. Today, we stand at the very spot where a life was tragically and unjustly taken just a week ago. The weight of this loss is felt deeply, not just by the family and friends of O'Shea, but by all of us who value life, peace, and justice. At the gates of Harvard Law School, there's a verse from the Quran inscribed that reads, "O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to God, even as against yourselves or your parents or your kin, whether it be against rich or poor. For God can best protect both." This verse serves as a testament to the universal value of justice, a principle that is deeply embedded in the teachings of Islam. As Muslims, we believe that justice is one of the most valuable traits one can possess. The sanctity of life is paramount, and the Quran states in chapter 5, verse 32, "Whoever kills a soul unjustly, it is as though he had killed all mankind. And whoever saves a life, it is as though he had saved all mankind." The tragic death of O'Shea is a stark reminder of the former. As Muslims, we are commanded to stand up for justice, even if it means standing against our own selves. We unequivocally condemn the unjust murder of O'Shea. Such acts are amongst the greatest forms of injustice one can commit. As we stand united against violence, we also stand together in the pursuit of peace and harmony. As we reflect on our shared commitment to justice, a verse from the Quran resonates deeply. Indeed, God commands justice, good conduct, and providing for relatives, and He forbids wickedness, wrongdoing, and oppression. He admonishes you, so perhaps you will be mindful. This verse serves as a universal call to action, emphasizing the importance of justice, goodness, and kinship. May we all be inspired by these words and work collectively towards a world filled with justice, peace, and understanding. Thank you.
So much. You want to?
Yes, for the detective, is there any evidence that you uncovered that you can share that led you to believe that this was a hate crime?
Just based on the statements of the group in general, we have a lot of anti-gay statements and a lot of derogatory statements being made anti-black from the group and from the defendant himself.
Johnny with Panel 7. Is anyone else going to be charged? Is anyone else going to be included in this case? Because obviously there was a group of people that were there that night. Can you speak out regarding that?
Sure. As of right now, the defendant's going to be charged solely. If, based on our investigation, the group dissipates. We had a lot of members from the community out here acting as peacemakers. The group did start to disappear. The defendant stayed, unfortunately, and stabbed the victim.
Any word on like how did he surrender, turn himself in, or how kind of everything was brought together?
So the Regional Fugitive Task Force was aggressively hunting and investigating this case. Numerous contact with family members, numerous contacts with people that were familiar with him, and we arranged his surrender through his attorney.
And I just want to respond also to turning himself in. When the community, the agencies, and the apparatus is put in place that really corner people in, they traditionally turn themselves in. They turn themselves in. That's the byproduct of the coordination of the community and our local entities. So it wasn't as though it was just someone turned themselves in because it was out of the goodness of their heart. It was out of the proper investigation and coordination that led no other thing to do but to turn yourself in.
That's not as people assembly. We're talking about a narrative of tension between the Muslim and the LGBT plus community that we're rejecting. Last night they weren't talking about that at all. There was all this talk about we protect ourselves and also that the police terrorize people in the community. That kept coming up. And I just wondered what your message is to the people who are mourning and here and then dancing and felt that way.
I'm not sure who said that the police terrorized them.
Last night, when many people assembled here, a lot of dancers, a lot of people from the LGBT community, and they were gathered. There was not really anything directed at the Muslim community. There was frustration directed at the police who were here and were very kind and decent. So I just wondered what your message.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you go, sir. When people are in pain, they express their pain. When you look at the gay officers action lead, when you look at the coordination with all the different entities, people express themselves when they are in pain. I think the relationship between the NYPD and the LGBTQ plus community is a solid relationship. I think that you look at the coordination during Pride Week, during Black Pride Week, during many of the events that take place, the thoroughness of our investigations. And so I respect when people feel a level of pain. And we don't want to, if we find any cases of someone that's being harassed, we investigate it accordingly, and we're going to continue to do so.
Last night was the community's response to O'Shea being killed here. And the community wanted to come back here to the space to let them know that we're not going to tolerate that anymore. It's unacceptable, right? So You had many people here. You had people from within the ballroom community. They wanted to dance and show solidarity to we're here too, we're dancing. It was to make a formal statement that the community is united, that we are against the particular racism and discrimination that we face all the time, and we wanted to come together to address that.
Should members of the LGBT community be afraid to do what O'Shea did?
I don't think that any human being should be afraid to live their life and express themselves. However, it is the reality that we do face, right? We face it every day. We face discrimination. We face laws that are being passed right now. There are how many laws that are right now that are pending that are anti-LGBTQ across this country. So young people are definitely going to stand up. It is their job to stand up and say, we're here, we exist, this is about their human right, this is about their civil right, and so they came here to say, we're here, you're not going to get rid of us, we're not going to be afraid, we're not going to hide in the shadows. You know.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor, the fact that this is a 17-year-old, is that, what feeling do you have on that, the fact that this is a very young person?
And that's a great question because what you're seeing that is happening to our youth in this country in general, but specifically here in New York City, is something that we should all be alarmed about. We saw it yesterday down at Union Square. This is not a policing issue. This is a parenting issue. And we need to be clear on that. Police is the response after an incident happened, but there should be a proactive approach. When I looked at what happened in Union Square, the first thing I did was text my son and say, where are you? Are you in Union Square? And I wonder, with the thousands of children who were there, hurling dangerous objects at police officers, disrespecting the residents in the area, attacking each other. How many parents text their children? And, you know, that old commercial that says 10 p.m., do you know where your children are? How many looked at that and said, let me text my son, let me call my daughter, are you down there? And so police is not going to be able to resolve these issues on our own. The great level of restraint we saw yesterday by the New York City Police Department, that could have turned really ugly. And as I monitored and communicated with the on-the-ground teams, you know, telling them these are young people, we have to, you know, be mindful of that as we bring back order. That's the same in this incident. 17-year-old, you're not born with hate. So what are we doing as adults that creates this energy of hate? And that energy that's created is not coming from a community such as the Muslim community that is aware of the hate that they see every day. It's not coming from the LGBTQ plus community of the hate they experience. So it's coming from other entities that we need to fight against. And the only way we can win is we are united in our fight. And that's why we're standing here today on the announcement of this apprehension.
Question. What's your message to parents? I mean, clearly, like you said, as a 17-year-old, yesterday there was a chaos erupted, young people. Your message to parents, what would you say to that?
And, you know, it's difficult being a parent now with so much weight and so many obligations they are facing. I know my role with Jordan and the responsibilities that I have. You know, our children cannot be raised by social media. Our children cannot get their values, their beliefs from social media and other outside entities. And it's about being aware that the things that my mother needed to raise me is different from the things that parents need today. Our children are being inundated by influencers, by those who consider themselves to be credible messengers. This young man yesterday, he had a substantial number of followers. People came from outside the city to be there, and I want us to, we're further looking into whether there's some even outside agitators. You don't come to get free Game Boys and bring smoke bombs and bring M80s and bring other disruptive items. And so we believe there were some outside influencers that may have attempted to aggravate this situation. And I cannot say enough for the police department yesterday. I don't think people realize the level of discipline that was showed to take a very dangerous, volatile situation and to be able to bring it to a level of resolve without any loss of life, any substantial damage to property, and without young people harming themselves. And, you know, that's the type of discipline it takes and the type of dedication that it took to bring this person to justice. We're going to create an environment where the city is safe, and one should be allowed to dance, to express themselves, to dress the way they want. This is what I fought for years ago with the Gay Officers Action League, and I'm not going to relinquish that fight as the mayor of the city of New York.